Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. I want to introduce myself. I am Christy Mattoon from Mind Rewire. I'm the owner and operator. I coach people from all over the world in over 23 countries and over probably more than half of the United States on how to change their subconscious mind. I've been doing this work for about 10 years. I've written 2 different books. One is called Change, Rewire Your Mind, about the topic, how I got into it, what got me into this whole thing. My other book is about autoimmune disease. It's called How to Combat Autoimmune Disease and Win. And the reason I wrote this book was because what I found out in trying to heal my autoimmune disease was that it was directly related to my subconscious mind. The problems that I were having weren't just diseases, they weren't just symptoms. They were actually issues of my subconscious, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that today. So what we are talking about here today is the subconscious mind. We're going to talk about how you can create the person that you want to be. We're going to do a few little exercises, so that's going to be kind of fun. We're going to have some experiential evidence, and I want you to really be able to feel what goes on when I'm working with somebody. Inside of a group setting, it's a whole different conversation and you get a whole different feeling for it, so that's kind of cool. But I do work with people a lot, one-on-one. I always work over Zoom or Skype, and the reason I do that is because it's just as effective whether you're around the world or sitting right next to me. And so I just want you to know that. What I'm going to teach you today is about a whole brain state, and how when you actually couple that idea with a heightened level feeling, it'll push you towards your future and help you to release your past, which is where your subconscious is stuck. So it gets rid of all of the junk inside your mind, the negative reoccurring issues, the patterns, the thoughts, the negative beliefs, the trauma that may have came out of your past and followed you into your adulthood, that cause you to struggle in life. It causes that stuck feeling, and I'm going to tell you why that happens in just a minute. I'm going to teach you how to access your subconscious mind and how you can start a process to release memories, release beliefs on a day-to-day basis, and even those thoughts that lock you into the patterns and cycles. And once you understand how to do this, it'll change everything that you think about subconscious mind and how hard it is to change, because that's one of the things that we're actually taught, is that our subconscious mind is like stuck in there, and it's one of those things that's really tough to change. And the truth is, it's not. It's actually pretty easy. So we're going to work on releasing negative recurring issues, thoughts, negative emotions, and even beliefs that cause you to struggle in your life. So our learning objectives this morning are why you feel stuck. We're going to talk about what the role of the subconscious is in your everyday life, and if you can actually use it to benefit you. We're going to talk about how you can quickly and easily alter the subconscious mind without something like hypnosis. We're going to talk about what is a whole brain state, and then we're going to help you get into one so you can actually feel it and how to use it effectively, and even why it works. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you can train your body to feel the difference every day, because that's where this gets important, is training this new feeling into your subconscious mind. Okay? So basically what we've been taught as people on this planet, I suppose, and a lot in the United States, is that change itself requires time, right? To be able to change, you have to have a lot of time. There's a process you have to go through. There might be multiple processes. You have to see a doctor. You might need to take a pill, especially if you're suffering with anxiety or depression. Well, I think that's all wrong. Change requires a decision. Change requires knowledge. Change requires an understanding. And when you have that understanding, when you have an intentional decision and you're ready to make that decision, something radically different is going to start to happen inside your life when you apply the technique that I'm about to show you. So change requires help, sometimes from an outside source, someone who knows how to do it, someone who knows how to push and pull the right triggers and help you flip those triggers to help you get the response that you're desired. Now, one of the things that got me into this was years ago, I read a study that actually came out in 1998 that was called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. It's called ACE. It was actually done by, I forget who this was done by. I believe by the Mayo Clinic. I don't know why I can't think of this right now. But anyway, the study was about childhood trauma and how childhood traumas negatively affect your health in adult life. They actually did a study on this, how negative childhood traumas will actually affect your health in adult life. And what they found out was absolutely traumatizing. It was actually amazing that the toxic stress caused from those beliefs, from those traumas in childhood, actually cause physical ailments inside your system, because those emotions get trapped inside your organs. They get trapped inside your tissue. And when that happens, your brain will keep going back and giving you the same information of that trauma. That's part of what your subconscious mind does. So understanding that you can heal from these adverse childhood experiences kind of will give you a little bit of a sense of hope. It'll give you a little bit of sense of peace. The childhood experiences, the things that you lived through, don't have to be your daily occurrence. We can actually stop them and change them. So let's go right into this. Why do you feel stuck? What is that stuck feeling? So that stuck feeling basically is your subconscious mind. Now, understanding that the subconscious mind is actually just an idea. It's not even a real part of your brain. The subconscious was something that was made up to help people understand how that part of the brain works. What I believe the subconscious actually refers to is a neuroplasticity that we build in our brains every time you think a thought. It's a protein and a neuron that come together, and when they join together, they're actually creating matter inside your brain. The more you think the thought, the more you repeat the thing, the more you do it over and over again, you're creating more of this neuroplastic inside your head. When you get older, what happens is you start to change the way you think and feel about things. You start to change the way that you want to do things. And in doing that, in making those changes or having the desire to change, you start to become aware of what's going on inside of your life, the patterns that don't work, the things that are affecting you. That awareness makes you even more aware, because now you really want to change this issue. The stuck feeling is my conscious mind wants to change. I have this new plan going on inside my head, and the subconscious mind comes in with its information and pretty much intersects with your conscious mind, and it tells you no, and it makes you feel like you're stuck. You can't move forward. Maybe you go into fear or panic. You go into doubt. You go into all the different negative ranges of emotion. Could be anger, of whatever the original trauma was that you went through as a child, whatever the issue was. Now, when I say trauma, most people start thinking automatically it's like some big, huge, explosive thing. I was beaten. I was raped. I was thrown off a horse. I fell off a cliff, like something like a huge car accident. Something crazy happened, right? Trauma. Sometimes the trauma probably isn't that crazy. And this is where it gets interesting. As a child, the way you perceived the situation was as a child would think. I had a client years ago who came to me with money issues, like big, huge money issues. And we were going through and breaking down some of the walls and barriers and trying to find that thing that had her stuck. And it ended up being an issue with her father when she was teeny tiny and 50 cents laying on the dashboard of his car. They would always go to the store before she went to school. There was always 50 cents laying there. He would always say, grab the 50 cents, let's go. She would run inside and get her snack or whatever it was she was getting. And this one particular time, he said, let's go. She grabbed the 50 cents. He turned around, remembered he had forgotten his wallet or something happened. She stuck the 50 cents in her wallet. They got back into the car, and later that day when she got home from school, he accused her of stealing that 50 cents. Her understanding was that that money was always for her. It was never an issue. His understanding and actually accusing her of stealing wrecked her out for pretty much her whole life. And she didn't even remember it. She just knew she'd get this sick feeling whenever she would have to pick up money. And it would stall her out. Can you imagine that? So clearing that out of her system was relatively simple. We walked back through it, took care of the issue, got rid of the emotional bondage that was locking her in there, and helped her move on. So let's talk for a quick second about what is the role of the subconscious in your everyday life. Your subconscious mind gives you a lot of information. If the information is from a trauma or it's from something that you don't necessarily believe anymore, it's going to cause you an issue. Another example of a client of mine who grew up in a very religious household, and I get this a lot from people, that, God was some kind of policeman in the sky, right? And I was even taught this way. And if you stepped out of line, if you stepped out of bounds, he was going to beat you with his billy club until you got back into alignment, right? It was a book of don'ts. It wasn't a book of do's. God was a scary thing. He wasn't like a good God. And you're told he's a good God, but then you're told about hell and all the wars and everything that goes on. So as an adult, this guy was trying to figure out in his head, how does that even work? Like, it makes no sense, really. How does it work inside a body of a child who thought that God was going to cream him if he stepped out of line, to this adult who still was afraid to step out of line over silly things? It was crazy, the stuff he was beating himself up over, all based on what he was taught as a child that he no longer believed as an adult. So changing out limiting beliefs. Your subconscious mind will hold on to that. It will put and instill fear into your system. That fear is not a healthy fear. That fear is in your body, cortisol and adrenaline. And that cortisol and adrenaline over time will cause massive problems in your body, which is exactly what happened to me. This is a picture of me. If you can see this little tiny picture, is a picture of me when I was probably at one of my heaviest weights. And the weight that I was at was around 300 pounds. What I found out inside of my own system was that as I was going through life, all of the stresses that I had gone through in my childhood, which I don't remember, I have no memory of my childhood. It's the same childhood that I believe is part of the reason why my youngest brother killed himself last year, because he never could figure out what the pain was in his body. The doctors couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure it out. Unfortunately, we were a little bit too late trying to get to it by the time I started understanding it. When I realized that it was our childhood that was affecting him, and I started changing it for myself, all of my disease processes started changing. Hashimoto's, skin cancer, asthma, I don't even know, the list was endless. I killed a bone in my foot, blood sugar problems, high cholesterol problems, the weight issue. Cholesterol and adrenaline in your system are like a slow drip of death. And if you don't get that under control, that slow drip of those chemicals and hormones inside your body will eventually put you in a situation where your physical body starts to fail. Now, what I had to do to get rid of it was literally going through every organ in my body. Systematically, I finally figured out, like, there was so much stuff and trauma locked in there, from my eyes, my optical nerve. It was crazy, some of the stuff I had to release just to get my body back online. Now, working out and diet played a part of that too. I won't lie to you about it. I had an amazing trainer that helped me actually work out for a number of years and start to get the weight off. But even after that was done, there was something in my system that did not feel right. And it was something that I fought with every day. I called it the undertow. And that undertow was those emotions from a childhood that I didn't remember. Clearing that out of my system started changing everything for me. So the role of the subconscious mind in your everyday life is basically giving you information that either frees you or holds you captive. It will give you information inside your body that will keep you locked in the situations of yesterday if you don't go in and clear it up. How can you use your subconscious mind to benefit you? Did you know you even could? When the subconscious storage locker is clear, of negative emotions, beliefs that don't serve you, and thoughts that cause you harm, when that is cleared out, you can do all kinds of stuff with your subconscious mind. It's the reprogramming idea, right? So we reprogram the system. You can rewire your mind. And that's where this can get a little bit fun. Now, what I want you to think about is the idea of a garage, and it's packed full of stuff, right? Have you ever driven down the street and you see a garage with the door up and just all kinds of stuff hanging out? Yeah, it's a mess, right? I used to have a garage like that. Not quite that bad, but it was close. The funny thing about these garages is the first box that was ever put in there is back in the far right corner somewhere, or left corner, on the ground, underneath everything else. How long has it been there? Probably as long as you've owned the house. And you have no idea what's in that box. You have no idea what's in that box. And so to unclutter that box, what do you have to do? You have to start pulling everything out of the garage. You have to get all the stuff out that's in front of it first. And this is what we've been taught about how we have to clear up our situations. It's in layers, it's in pieces. Again, I beg to differ. I don't think that's correct. Think about your timeline. If we can step 1 minute before all the issues happened inside your life, when there was nothing, the problem wasn't there, it didn't exist, what would happen? If you could go to that person and tell them something, give them information, feed their subconscious mind with some kind of strength that would get them through all the stuff, what would happen inside your life? So that's what I do with people. We don't unpack the garage necessarily. We step a minute before it, get behind that box on the ground floor, and we start putting information into your system, not just from a subconscious standpoint, but every cell of your body, to bring it all into alignment, not just your brain, which is what a whole brain state does, and we'll talk about that in just a second. A whole brain state will bring your brain into coherence. You have to bring your cells into coherence with that, with your brain. You have to bring your heart into coherence with that, and you have to understand how to use it all as a system. All right, so what is a whole brain state? A whole brain state basically allows you to put your brain into coherence, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. They've actually done studies that when a person is in a whole brain state, their whole brain lights up on these scans. And it actually throws you into a high level of alpha wave. So it actually alters your brainwave state, which is incredible. The other thing it does for you is it gives you clarity, because when you're in that state, you can't be in fight and flight. We flip the switch on the fight and flight. It has to shut down. We shut down the production of cortisol and adrenaline and that flow into your system. And with that shut down, what happens is your brain starts to open up. You get new pathways opening up where you can start to think again. You can start to get new ideas. You can start to receive information on a different level. I had a client the other day I was working with, and this young lady was basically ready to commit suicide. That's what she called in telling me. She had enough money to buy one session, and I'm not cheap. I'm the first person to admit that, but I am very thorough, and I will stay on with you as long as we need to. She was able to buy this one session, and I said, we'll just kind of keep it rolling on as we can go. And she said, this is it. Like, I'm just done. I can't do this anymore. We walked through everything that she was going through. We started doing all of the clearing. We were getting rid of emotions out of her power centers, which some people call chakras, her energy centers. We were getting rid of emotion out of her organs, out of her tissue. And then we did a huge clearing and walked through her whole timeline, desynchronizing the system. And as we're desynchronizing the system, we walk all the way back into the womb. And once we're inside the womb, we started giving new information to her cells. As she's popping into creation, she's viewing herself popping into creation. And we're putting new information into those cells. When she first started, and then we're talking about maybe a 2-hour process we did here. When she first started, her words were, she was in destructive mode. She was disengaged. She was confused, full of confusion. She was frustrated and angry. After the session, she reported that she was hopeful. She was open. She actually came up with a few different ideas and started planning how she was going to start handling some of the situations that she was facing. And they're not small situations. She's losing her house. She lost her husband. Her car got hit by a snowplow the other day. She had all this stuff. And she's like, it's too much. She couldn't think. She couldn't work. She had a hard time trying to figure out how to dial in to even be able to talk to me. That's how closed down her brain was. And we got it opened up, and now she's hopeful and she's being constructive. And she had a whole list of words that she was going through. This is what being in a whole brain state can do for you. So how do you use it? How do you get into a whole brain state? Here's how a whole brain state works. It's about your hemispheres, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. We all have both, right? We were taught that you're either predominantly right-brained or left-brained. And if you're right-brained, you're more on the creative side. If you're left-brained, you're more on the structured side. And they have a whole list of things explaining those. If you came out of my era, they actually sat you down in high school, helped you figure out which one you were so you could play to those strengths. So if you were more creative, you did the more creative stuff. And if you were more structured, you did the science and math stuff. Here's the problem with that idea, is that to do either, you need both. The people who are more centered, more grounded, and who do well in everything are the people whose hemispheres work together no matter what's going on. If I'm in creativity, left brain is clicking too. It's not just right brain. If I'm being structured and rigid and having to do some work in math and whatever, my creativity side can click on too. It makes you a better, more rounded person. And when you can live like that and structure yourself like that, you just do better, right? So putting yourself in a whole brain state and understanding how is huge. Here's the other thing that we were taught. We were taught not to. Putting yourself in a whole brain state equates to basically crossing midline of your body. Think midline, hemispheres. Right half controls left side, left half controls right side. If I'm in I call this an open circuit. If I'm in an open circuit, nothing is crossed, and I'm doing well, my brain is probably doing what it needs to do in that moment. If I start struggling, most people will do this. Cross your arms, cross your legs, kind of lean in a little bit. They're trying to figure it out. What we were taught, and even what Toastmasters, which is a speaking gig, what they teach, don't cross your arms, because when you do that, you're being standoffish. You're shutting yourself down. They even taught that when you cross your arms, you're literally shutting your brain down. And that could not be any further from the truth. That's not how the physiology works. When you cross midline of your body, your brain has to restabilize whatever's happening in front of you in that moment. If you think about being in a gym, here's a good example of this. You're in a gym. Let's say we're doing bicep curls. So we're just curling up and down. Doing these bicep curls, my body is stabilizing. Right? Every time I move, muscles in the front click on and off, muscles in the back click on and off. I'm grounded to the floor, and I'm stabilized. It's your brain's job to stabilize the system. If I all of a sudden in one of those movements reach across my body, I'm holding a heavy weight, my body starts to tip, what does my brain do? It pulls me back to center. It restabilizes my system, tightening up muscles on this side to pull me back up, loosening some up on this side so I can stabilize. Does it make sense? Turns out it works the same way with thoughts, with emotions, with feelings, and you can stabilize your system, and we do all the time exactly the same way. But we were taught not to. We were taught to stand like soldiers, right? If you came out of my era, there was definitely a weird thing with that. You could not cross your arms or legs. It was very rude. It's not rude at all. So here's what I instruct people to do. And here's how you train your brain differently. I want you to, in this moment, let's set the system up real quick. I want you to think about something that makes you feel good. Think about something that makes you feel good. Now, my go-to place, I'm going to tell you what my go-to is, and I use a place where it's devoid of other people, devoid of other people's energy. My go-to place is up at the very tip of a peninsula in Maine called Boothbay Harbor. Absolutely gorgeous place. And at night, during the summer, when you lay down and you look up at the stars, you can actually see the edge of the Milky Way. And during the month of June, there's shooting stars, like they are just everywhere. It's so beautiful up there. And so that's my go-to place, is I remember that, and then I feel it. I feel it. I can smell the trees. I can smell the ocean around that peninsula. I can hear the sound of the waves crashing on the rocks. I can see the stars shooting across the sky, the edge of the Milky Way. I can feel it inside my system. So right now in this moment, I want you to feel it. Go to a place that you've been before, that you like, that you love to be in. And I want you to feel it. If you're at a beach, feel the sand in your toes. See the palm trees. Maybe it's the color of the sky, the sound of the water rolling up onto the beach. Feel the heat in the air. Maybe the coolness in the breeze. Maybe you can smell the salt water. If you're in the forest on a hiking trail, you can smell the pine. Maybe you can smell the earth underneath your feet. You can hear the crunching of rocks and leaves every step you take. I want you to feel that inside your system. Close your eyes and go there. Be in that place for this moment. And notice how your body feels. Just notice. Now I want to give you something to contrast it to. I want you to feel something or think about something that you don't like. Make it something easy. Don't let it be something that's going to throw you into a tailspin. Make it something a little bit easy. My go-to, I'll give you my go-to on this also. People usually laugh at me, but my go-to is stepping in dog poop. I don't like that. I've had it happen a few too many times. Shoes on, shoes off. Gross. No, thank you. I don't like that, right? That gives me this like sinking, gut-wrenching. So pick something you don't like. Feel it. Be in it. Whatever it is. Taste it, smell it, touch it, hold it. Feel your body. What does that feel like? What you want is the difference. What did your like feel like? And what did your dislike feel like? Now, some people will look at me and say, you went too fast. I didn't get it. Go back and do it again. Here's the deal. In 1 minute, in fact, in less than 30 seconds, you should be able to tell the difference. My like feels like this. My dislike feels like this. And not from a knowing place, from a feeling place. When I think about being on the edge of that shore in Maine, this is what it feels like. When I think about stepping in dog poop, this is what it feels like. When I'm on that shore in Maine, I feel light, I feel open, I feel good. My body feels like it could float. If I stayed there long enough thinking about it, I do end up just kind of feeling like I'm floating. Smelling dog poop or stepping in dog poop just makes me go, ugh. It makes me clench, it makes me gag, it makes me, right? It doesn't feel good in my system. I feel heavy, I feel weighted down. Just notice the difference. What just now happened was in that moment, when you thought about something that you liked, you got a nice hit of the good chemicals, the good hormones. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, all the high-level stuff. When you thought about something that you didn't like, you got a little snap of cortisol and adrenaline. And that cortisol and adrenaline, in less than the time that it takes you to even think about it, it happens even faster than that. You will get a hit of those chemicals so quickly that it will change the way you feel in that moment. The interesting thing about all of that is that you have control of it. If you can train your brain and train your mind to stay in a place where you feel those higher level chemicals all the time, you're going to have a much better existence, yes? So the question is, how do you do that? How do you stay in those higher level feelings? Now, one of the things, another thing that we were taught was that thought creates your reality. Thought's going to create what's around. You're going to think it, right? This is the idea of law of attraction that we were taught for years, and now they're even saying that was incorrect. Bob Proctor himself mentioned in an email not too long ago that he was teaching it wrong. He forgot a part. And it was interesting reading that email to me. And I was really glad that he finally became aware that something was missing. In the law of attraction, you're taught to think it, like be there, think it. And you're going to attract it to you because you're sending out the thought and it's going to come back. Turns out it doesn't really always work that way. And you know that because you've tried it, right? So I get clients all the time going, I tried law of attraction, tried this, tried that. Why don't these things work all the time? You're missing a part. That feeling is a key ingredient to all of this stuff. I know what I want, but in negative chemicals, it cuts off right at the quick. I know what I want in higher level chemicals. Now the message is going to send out. And it's actually going to invoke something inside of you to get up and go do the something that you want to go do. That's where huge change is. If I'm in a struggle and I'm fighting inside my own system, and I know consciously I want something, but I'm getting negative chemicals from my subconscious mind, I get lack of movement. The brain shuts down. I don't have open pathways to think through it. I can't get through it. If in that same kind of idea, I know what I want, I have this great idea, I have a great intention, and I'm putting it out there, and in that moment I get this huge, awesome feeling. I'm excited, dopamine. I'm in love with the idea, oxytocin. I think it's great and it's going to do something amazing in my life, serotonin. It makes me happy. Now all of a sudden I'm sending out a positive signal that's going to go and attach with wherever that is in the universe. And that's going to come back to me in a whole different way. Because you stop the confusion in your system, you stop the confusion in the field, right? In the energy field around you, which is the universe, which is your environment. And now I get a whole different response. The problem is most people haven't trained their brains to be in that place. Most people have childhood trauma. Most people have these ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences that cause trauma in their system, and have left them locked in fight and flight. This is where that whole brain state comes in. So I want you to think of something, whatever it is you want to think of. Think of an issue, think of a feeling. Like, I don't have memories of my childhood necessarily, so for me it was all feelings. Had this weird feeling always that the other shoe was going to drop, that I was going to get hit. I always walked around just flinching because I was waiting for something to happen, even though I didn't know what was going to happen. I want you to find that thing for you. What is it? Can you identify it? Maybe you know off the top of your head, man, if I could just get rid of this one, like fear, anger, doubt, hatred, jealousy, rage, whatever that is for you, think of it. I want you to feel it for just a couple seconds. Be in there with it. Just be there with it. Trust me on this. And if you can't, get with me after. All right? You might need help. Now what I want you to do is I want you to cross your ankles. So one ankle over the top of the other. You're going to cross your ankles. And I actually want you to feel your feet. So take your awareness all the way down to your feet. Inside of this weird feeling or this feeling you're having, feel your feet. Just notice. Now I want you to cross the other direction. And again, feel your feet. The pattern's going to matter because it's associating back up into your brain. Left hemisphere, right hemisphere, depending on which way you're crossed. Feel your feet. Go towards the side that feels the strongest. Test it again if you need to. Go towards the side that feels the strongest. Now you're going to do the same thing with your hands. One hand over the top of the other. Feel your hands. Just notice. Cross the other way. Do the same thing. Just feel and notice. Which side felt stronger? Stay on that side. So now you're going to stay in that pattern. Feel that feeling. We're going to go for about 2 minutes. I want you to just stay with it until you feel a mental, emotional, or physical shift in your perception of that feeling. When you feel that shift, take a nice deep breath, but don't undo your pattern. We're going to go for 2 minutes. All right, so at the 2-minute mark, I want you to take a nice deep breath, big inhale, expanding at the rib cage, do a nice long exhale, and just notice how you feel. If you haven't opened your eyes yet, go ahead and uncross your arms and legs. When you open your eyes, I want you to try and hold on to the feeling that you have inside your body right now. Don't let this feeling go. Now in this moment, I want you to go back to that feeling of the thing that you liked. Go back to that feeling of the thing that you liked. Feel it. Be in it. Let's add a superhero to it. Find your feet firmly planted to the ground. Your shoulders down and back. Your core is nice and tight. Your head's up and forward. You're still feeling the feeling from that thing that you liked, and now you're feeling a feeling of being a superhero. Right? Visualize your body in the position of that superhero. So now we're stacking good feelings inside your system. Now cross your arms and legs again. It might be a different pattern, so test your feet. Which one feels stronger to this new higher level feeling? Do your hands. And then just feel that inside your system. Every inhale, your rib cage expands, the energy grows. Every exhale, make it a little bit longer. Inhale, the energy grows. Exhale, the energy moves. So you're going to just start letting it move in and up and around your system. Inhale, energy grows. Exhale, it moves around your system. Now we're going to add something to this. I don't typically do this on a first date, but let's add something to this. As you inhale, expand your rib cage. Allow that energy to really move so your heart space is opening. On your exhale, make it nice and long and slow, but as you're exhaling, I want you to squeeze pelvic floor. Squeeze your lower abdominal wall. Squeeze perineum. Right? Way down low, we're talking about root chakra. We're talking about that grounding energy center. Squeeze that on your exhale. Now on your inhale, you're releasing that and allowing that energy to shoot back up towards your brain. Again, it's going to be a nice long exhale, squeezing perineum, pelvic floor, lower abdominal wall. Let that energy shoot back up towards your brain. You're just feeling the energy circulating around your system. We're going to do that 2 more times. Nice big inhale, inflating the rib cage, opening heart center. Big, huge inhale. Energy expands. As you exhale, squeeze perineum, pelvic floor, lower abs, maybe even upper abs. As you're exhaling all the way out, nice, long, slow exhale. And that energy just moves through your body like a wave. Inhale, rib cage expands, opens up, chest opens, heart center opens. That energy expands and moves around you. And then coming down, you're exhaling, nice, long, and slow, and squeezing those muscles. I just want you to feel what your body is doing right now. Go ahead and uncross your arms and legs. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your eyes shut. We're still just allowing that energy to move and flow. Now here's what I want to tell you. When you open your eyes, do so with the understanding that when you open your eyes, you don't want to let go of this feeling. Keep the feeling in your body. All right? So when you're ready, open your eyes and don't let go of this feeling. Hang on to it. Here's what happens when you open your eyes. Your perception changes. Your eyes perceive things. Your hearing perceives things. Your smell, your touch, right? These are all our five senses. Every one of those organs that help you perceive things are transducers. They transduce information from your outside external world to the inside internal world. Your eyes are transducing information. It's picking up energy out here, and as it comes into your system, it's how you know whatever it is you're looking at. Through the eye, right? The optic nerve, and all of a sudden we have new information. Because I was taught this was a pen, this is a pen. Because I was taught this is paper, this is paper. What happens if somebody says, hey, what color is that? And they show you something, and I say it's orange. And they say, that's not orange, it's red. Something wrong with my eyes? Perception. I was taught that this color is orange. I wasn't taught that it was red. And then somebody shows me a true color orange, right? I had somebody do this one day. They pulled out a crayon box and they said, this is a true color orange. Look at the difference. Perceptually, big difference. I didn't know the difference. I thought this was orange, right? There's actually a tribe, and I forget where this tribe is out of, but I think it was Greg Braden talking about this tribe. They have no perception of the color blue. So you ask them what color is the sky, they have no idea what you're talking about. And my question would be, what are they actually seeing then? Because if they have no perception of what that is, what does it look like to them? Because what I was taught was that it's a barrier between us and outside space. I was taught that that blue color, the sky, was like a barrier. Interesting question, isn't it? So now keep that feeling circulating inside your body. What you're doing right now is giving yourself this just constant, and you say, oh, it just feels good. I feel lighter, I feel floaty, I feel more open. People say they feel expansive, hopeful, right? All of the negative stuff starts to all of a sudden fall off and change. In that whole brain state, it's like a door swings open. And in that alpha brainwave, we can get into the subconscious mind and put this feeling into your system. And not just in your brain. We're talking to the cells of your body. Part of this is intention. Part of this is the intention itself matters. Where am I trying to localize this information? It's not just here. We want the information in the cells of our body. Your brain is not the only place that kicks out chemicals. Adrenaline and cortisol don't come from your brain. They come from something that's activated because of what's happened, and your gut goes into action and gives you the chemicals. The feeling comes first. There was actually a study done where they were showing people pictures. Some of them were nice, some of them were good, some of them were horrifying. And they had them hooked up to a machine so they could see what their brains were doing. What they found out was that when they were showing these pictures, milliseconds before they would actually see the picture, they were just popping up on a screen of a computer. Milliseconds before they would actually see the picture, they were already getting a brain wave change. Something in their brain was already activating because their sensory body devices knew what was about to pop up. Before they even saw it, they were getting changes in their system, in their cortisol and adrenaline, or in their oxytocin and all the good chemicals. In seconds, in less than seconds. Isn't that crazy? Your body knows. And if it's clogged up with junk that's not helping you, that's where it needs cleaned out. We got to go empty the garage. We got to get behind that first box that you put in the garage, or that whoever put in the garage, because without that there, you're going to get a whole different outcome. Does that make sense? Let's do one more quick exercise. This is just something else I do with clients a lot, and we have a few minutes left. I want you again to think of something that in your life, maybe it causes a little disturbance. Maybe it's a person, an issue, maybe it's just a thought. I'm going to show you how your heart is a transducer, just like your eyes. The energy comes through the eye, transduces, and suddenly I know what this is. Heart does the same thing. It transduces information. We know from quantum physics that you can do a few things with energy. You can move it, or you can change it. You can turn it into something else, from one form into another. All right? Your heart does that for you. So I want you to think of this thing that's got you in a little bit of a upheaval. And then I want you to take that, so we're in the brain thinking about it. You're already in a whole brain state because you were just sitting in that place. You're in alpha waves. Think of that thing that kind of upsets you. So you got the thoughts, the memories, the feelings, and then I want you to pretend like you have a funnel in the top of your heart. And in this funnel, you're going to drop that memory. Shoop. And just feel. So you're feeling what the heart's doing. What does that feel like? Here's how you know the difference. If you're thinking about it, you're back up in your brain, you're not in your heart. If you're thinking about it, you're in your brain, you are not in your heart. Drop it back down into your heart. Just notice. You might instantly go back to that higher level feeling. You might get a different essence of it. It might just be peace. It's what your heart does. We weren't taught these things. We weren't taught that our bodies had these capabilities. This is what I teach people. I want to help you clear your issues and I want to help you move forward. But more than that, I want you to know how this works so that when issues arise, because life will keep happening, and when issues arise, you can take care of it. You can be aware enough of your system and of yourself and know that you don't want to live in the turmoil you've been living in, that you can stop and change it in a moment. Yes? All right. I appreciate loving all the looks on all your faces right now. This is beautiful. All right, so here's what I want to leave you with. You can absolutely change anything you want to about yourself. It's not hard. It's actually easy. Sitting in a whole brain state will raise the brain activity, brain level activity, right, to an alpha state, sometimes even higher. If you sit there long enough, you can really get some energy flowing. And I think that's the coolest part about all of it. In a group setting, healing changes. In a group setting, there's more energy when we get everybody doing the same thing. And there's been studies done on this too. When you're in a group setting doing a like-minded thing and focusing energy into something, that something will change. And around the world, there's been studies done on this idea. There's a gal named Lynn McTaggart that actually has a really cool book out. I think it's called The Miracle of 8. So she would put people in groups of 8 and then have them all focusing on the same thing and sending energy. She would heighten that feeling, that expression inside their body, and then send energy towards that thing. And not only did the thing get healed, but the people who were doing the sending got healed. And if the healing was for one person, the other people would notice some kind of change that would happen inside their own bodies and lives. Groups that I've been in, groups that I've led, groups that I've been just a part of as a participant, same thing happens. One person gets a change, everybody gets the change. So here's a few different ways that people can work with me. We were told that we're allowed to give you this information the last 5 minutes. So with your permission, I would like to tell you how you can actually work with me. One way is to do private sessions. I do private sessions with people from around the world. People who can't find anybody else that will give them the information and teach them how to do it the way I do. Simple, easy, effective. You don't have to go take a course. We're doing your clearing and helping you understand it. I'm doing your clearing with you and helping you understand it all at the same time. Okay? That's one way you can work with me. Typically with people, I'm doing either 4 to 10 sessions, and the 4-session package itself is $1,000. The sessions themselves can range anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. The first session is always 2 hours because we're doing a hard reset. We're going all the way back into the womb. We're going back to the moment of conception. We're going on the other side of that box in the corner of the garage. And we're giving your cells and your brain new information from that standpoint. And then we're bringing it all the way back forward to whatever age you are right now and integrating that into your system so that you get a powerful difference and a powerful outcome. Quickly, easily, you will notice the change that fast. And then the goal is to go walk in it. You have to remember that feeling and go walk around in it. The other way people can work with me, and this has been on my heart to do for a long time, and I'm just now getting this up and running. This is a 6-month buy-in. Basically, it's a 6-month session. And what we're doing is a live group participation. It's a mastermind program. And in this mastermind, what we're going to do is we're doing private clearings. We're doing group clearings. We're doing work that people just need to be done and didn't know how to do or express themselves as a group. We're going into the system and rewiring the system individually and as a group so that you function better in your daily life. In a group, you're going to feel what you just felt here. In a group, if we're clearing junk for one person, you get benefit by proxy because you're part of the group. In a group, you get a difference as quickly, if not more quickly, on different levels because everybody comes in at a different level, right? And the goal is to get everybody lined up and moving forward at the same rate. And it's not hard to do. It's really interesting and very cool. So it's an amazing blessing to have been given Mind Rewire. I was giving Mind Rewire, I think, as a blessing from God because I kept asking to make this simpler. Show me how to do this different. And this is what he showed me. The divinity of mankind is where we need to activate this stuff. We need to activate it here in our divinity, in this plane. And when we can do that, you can move forward rapidly. So here's what I would tell you. If you want to be part of this mastermind, you have to get on a call with me because I want to make sure I've got the right people. I want to make sure I've got people that are truly invested and who are willing to put in the time and effort it takes to do this kind of an effort. It is a 6-month commitment. We're going to do weekly calls, probably on weekends. We'll try and find a day or time when it works the best for most of whoever joins it. And if you don't show up, you still get the benefit, which is the interesting, cool part. But I want you to try and be there and show up as much as you can. When we're doing these clearings, you have to be invested in helping, which means raising your energy and being there for whatever project we're working on. It's a necessity, right? You have to be committed to do this. And you have to, that's why I have people get on a call with me. So I want you to write this down. It's https:// meet me. So it's meetme.so/mind rewire. You can go there and book a session. In the notes of that, I want you to put that you saw me here in Logan, Utah, and that you're interested in the mastermind program. I will not lie to you about this. It is an investment. It will be an investment of time. The energy that you invest, you will get back 100-fold. What you will receive from this effort, this is a mastermind healing group, and what you will receive from this effort is going to be way more than what you put in. And I just promise you that. That's how it works. So if you're interested in this, the price point that I usually charge for 4 sessions, which would be considered a month, a weekly session, is $1,000. That's what I charge for the 4-session private sessions. So if you extend that out over 6 months, that's $6,000. For people who jump in today and get in here with me, the price is going to be off $2,000. It's going to be a $4,000 investment from you today. But you have to join today, because we're building this group. It's almost full. And the more people we have in it, I believe the more powerful it's going to be. It is going to be 6 months. Your life will change. There's no doubt in my mind. If you're interested in that, I have sign-up forms here. I want you to come and grab one of these sign-up forms and fill out the information. Talk to me for a few minutes. We can actually do the interview real quick. Or you can get on a call with me. Go home, think about it. It is an investment, and I realize that. Go think about it. If it's something that's tugging at you, if you're like, wow, I really need to do that, don't second guess yourself here. The changes will be dramatic, and that's what we need in this day and age. We need something dramatic. We need something life-altering. So I thank you for being here. My name is Christy Mattoon. My company is called Mind Rewire. You can find me at mindrewire.com. You can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, all of these different places, on Facebook under Mind Rewire. If you want to come up and talk to me after, please do. I've got books and t-shirts at my table, and I would love to talk to you about the mastermind group. Thank you again.